65835 with buffer 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 65835 and at Docksford Shipyard, the crane tank engine broken. The Wearside shipyards were, of course, all rail served. Giant plates and other materials were forged at steelworks on Teesside. Sist Moskau wins the Stoffen Slurries and the Buttons the up now giant plates, the up now giant plates, the up now giant plates, the up now plates, the up now giant plates, the up plates and other materials were forged at steelworks on Teesside and elsewhere. And movements to the yards on running lines would mean special traffic and signalling arrangements for passing an out-of-gauge load. The Hilton Colliery branch, originally a through route to Leamside, ran along the north bank of the River Wear. National Coal Board Tank number 15, a Hawthorns build dating from 1953, heads empty internal user wagons towards the colliery. Very damp day, a J27 on a very damp day, a J27 very damp day, a J27 approaches the same spot with a train of loaded 21 tonners. On a very damp day, a J27 approaches the same spot with a train of loaded 21 tonners.
The tracks here were separate single lines worked in both directions, but BR engines only allowed on the left-hand one. 65879 is having real trouble on the wet rails. It's no good. The engine has slipped.
Yes.
65879 is having real trouble on the wet rails. It's no good. The engine has slipped to a standstill, and the train has had to be divided, with the rear half left in situ and all brakes pinned hard down. Near the town centre now, the northbound freight crosses the River Wear behind K1 Mogul 62044. This scene is now the site of St Peter's Station on the Tyneside Metro's Sunderland extension, opened in 2002, with the tracks uniquely shared by both Metro and National Trains. The train rolls past the platforms at Monk Wearmouth Station, closed in March 1960. The train rolls past the platforms at Monk Wearmouth Station, closed in March 1960. The train rolls past the platform at Ryhope Junction, south of Sunderland. A J27 heads the train of empties toward at Ryhope Junction, south of Sunderland. Here, a J27 stops and empties toward at Ryhope Junction, spread from the Kiss by J27 stops and empties toward at Ryhope Harrow for a mile spread from the Kiss information before diverging in routes at Ryhope Harrow for a mile spread from the Kiss information before diverging in routes at Ryhope Harrow for a mile spread from the Kiss information. Coming up from the coastline from Sea of Colliery is 6.395. Coming up from the coastline from Sea of Colliery, the northeast 6 with reservation group is very excited fast for savings. Finally, the northeast 6 unit activation group is very railway fast for savings. Finally, the northeast 6 unit activation group is very railway fast for savings. Finally, the northeast 6 unit activation group. Station in April of 1963. A memorable year on the railways and on Station in April of 1963. Starting to swing. A memorable year on the railways and on Station in country by Stall. 63 starting to swing. Railways break on the rail line and the era was coming to an end by Stall. 16 is starting from the schedule railways break on the rail line and the era was coming to an end by Stall. 16 is from the schedule railways break on the rail line and the era made. Already Pacific as the 6 of Bulgaria made to Kestrel, West Riding, West Riding, West Line, West Line, Day 1, into the old 5 suburban. Kestrel, it's time, serving, 25 miles out, was in the 60s still rural and very much not a suburban destination.
During the Second World War, when traffic control was
Decentralised, the Great Northern Line Control was located in this building, filmed here in the summer of 1964. Merryhampton, speeds 3 p.m. King's Cross, Newcastle. It's 1963 once more, on a spring-like 10th of March. But the dreadful long winter that played havoc with the nation's transport had only lately lifted. 60061, Pretty Polly waits north. Flying Fox looks in very mundane condition. Unbreakable wagons were by now largely relegated to departmental use, like this civil engine. 60054, Prince of Wales. The 7 a.m. stopper from Peterborough was due at Networth at 8:39, arriving King's Cross at 22. 60062, Minaroo heads a train at gangway stop that includes a Thomson LNER laboratory composite. Now it's a Sunday morning. The 8:15 King's Cross Grand Prix stopper is the first down the mainline train of the day. A4, 60025
Falcon speeds north.
60010, Dominion of Canada, now preserved, safe country.
One of his friends is there to photograph the train leaving.
And hopefully a popular place on the way as well. The Cathedral Express is Hereford 7:45 and Worcester at 8:55, Paddington 11:25. Driver news is being accompanied by Inspector Allen. 7:45 and Worcester at 8:55.
Paddington at 11:25.
Driver
Thornbury Castle is sadly not in the spick and span condition usual for the castle on this train. Withdrawn just 3 months after this trip, she would be one of just 5 castles to go to Barry Scrapyard.
When she was rescued in 1972.
Quarter of a century on, she still remains, unfortunately, dismantled. Staunton Station, 6 miles from Worcester, closed in January 1966. At Banbury, 11 miles out, the train slows for a permanent wait. 6. At Banbury, 11 miles to 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 6. At Fanbury, 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 11 miles to 6. Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At 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 Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fanbury, 11 miles to 6. The train slows for a place Our line side photographer has managed to beat the train and catch 7027 as she goes by. Landing feet on the road is 1960s. Approaching Evesham. Then we shall be late this morning.
An entire city lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the
The
millennium.
Cathedral's express loads to 12 bogies, and that
An
means
entire
assistance
city
and Jimmy
lies
Carrington,
buried.
which includes 4 miles and 400.
Snapshot
The pilot is a Collet 060, and the inside the train
entire
engine.
city
Otherwise,
lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the millennium.
But today,
An entire city lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the millennium. An entire city lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the millennium.
At Fanbury, 11 Fanbury, 6.
An entire city lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the millennium. An entire city lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the millennium. An entire city lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the millennium. An entire city lies buried. A snapshot frozen into the miraculously, a major city, a great port, and one of the most significant in all of Egypt. Yet this real-life Atlantis seems to have disappeared. And most significant, and one of the most significant in all of Egypt. Yet this real-life Atlantis seems to have disappeared in an instant, leaving few clues that it ever existed. That is its real huge media leaving few clues that it ever existed. Now it's finally revealing its secrets. Perfectly preserved beneath the sea, are at last allowing us to tell the extraordinary story of this mighty city. Us to tell the extraordinary story of this mighty city.
This is so beautiful, a masterpiece. It is indeed. This is so.
Of this mighty city.
This is so beautiful, a masterpiece. It is indeed.
Spectacular find.
Indeed.
Spectacular finds open a unique window into the time of the pharaohs. Spectacular finds open a unique window into the time of the pharaohs. Spectacular finds open a unique window into the time of the pharaohs. The pharaohs. Spectacular finds spectacular finds open a unique window into the time of the pharaohs. Spectacular finds open a unique window into the time of the pharaohs. Spectacular finds open a unique window into the time of the pharaohs.
Spectacular finds open a unique window into the time of the pharaohs.
Fadbury, 11 miles to 6.
Spectacular finds
Fadbury,
open a
11 miles to 6.
unique windows
At Fadbury, 11 miles to 6.
and reveal this lost city as one of the most important in Egyptian
Fadbury,
history.
11 miles to 6. At Fadbury, 11 miles to 6. At Fadbury, 11 miles to 6. Fadbury, 11 miles to 6. Banbury, 11 miles out, the train slows for a permanent way slag. Our line-side photographer has managed to beat the train, catch 7027 as she goes by. No mean feat on the roads of the 1960s. Approaching Evesham, first stop out of Worcester, and due away at 9:12. Though we shall be late this morning with that slow running. The Cathedral's Express loads to 12 bogies, and that means assistance up the bank to Chipping Campden, which includes 4 miles at 1 in 100. The pilot is a Collet 060, and the rules say that a lightly built engine like this must be coupled inside the train engine. Otherwise, with its bouncing around at the front, there could be a danger of buffer locking. This time-consuming rigmarole is often quietly ignored, but today there's an inspector on, and we're going by the book. So, our line-side friend now has time to catch up again, and here they come, battling their way up the Cotswold Scarp.
And that all around me was once a legendary port. The sea
Was once land, and that all around me was once a
legendary port.
This is the place that Helen of Troy and her lover Paris visited before the Trojan War.
It's where the god Heracles first set foot in Egypt. But for centuries this city lay forgotten, thought to be nothing more than a myth. Thought to be nothing more than a myth. Until it was rediscovered.
My friend,
concentration on occasion. So what this video aims to do is improve your perception of danger. You've been And people who've been driving for some time often rely too much on their experience and can lose concentration. So what this video aims to do is improve your perception of danger.
Years.
13 years ago. Zanies 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 13 years ago.
Motorcycling. It's more popular now than it's ever been. It seems that more and more
People are turning to bikes,
Both for the joy of riding and as a way to beat out traffic.
modern bikes, however, are very different to those of the early years of motorcycling. Gone are the days of those noisy, vibrating engines that left pools of oil and clouds of smoke wherever they had been. Today, the bikes are clean, they're colourful. But what hasn't changed is that when you ride a bike, you're more vulnerable in most of the road movements. You can still fall off the motorcycle, and if you hit anyone, or if anyone hits you, there's no safety cell to absorb the impact. Every year, around 7,000 motorcyclists are killed or seriously injured on UK roads.
Put another way, that's
19 people every single day. That should be how much fun riding a bike is. You have to keep safety very much all the time. By learning about potential hazards and how they can develop into dangerous situations,
you can improve safety on the road.
On the bottom of the seabed, Frank discovered a city wall.
And behind it, the remains of a vast ancient Egyptian temple.
With ornate stone columns.
We have here one of the columns of the temple. It's made from stone, and it's one of the columns of the temple. It's made from stone, and it's absolutely huge. And it's absolutely huge. Made from stone, 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 and it's absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge.
But the temple was just
Reduce the risk.
lying beneath the sea. Lying beneath the sea are walls.
Stone structures, ancient inscriptions. Bronzes, ceremonial vessels, gold, jewels and coins. Ceremonial vessels, Ceremonial vessels.
numerous.
Ceremonial vessels. Gold, jewels and coins. Ceremonial vessels. Gold, jewels and coins. Ceremonial vessels. Means. Ceremonial vessels. Gold, jewels and coins. Ceremonial vessels. Gold, jewels and coins. And the largest collection of ancient shipwrecks ever discovered. Of ancient shipwrecks ever discovered. Ever discovered. Ancient shipwrecks. Ever discovered.
The city of
Heraklion was no myth.
As an archaeologist, I've worked all over the world, but I've never had the opportunity to have access to such a fascinating site as Heraklion.
Only now is the excavation unravelling the mystery of this remarkable place.
Raveling the mystery of this remarkable place. An entire city. Entire city. Temples, houses, public buildings, 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 houses, public public buildings, houses, 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 public buildings, untouched for millennia. It's a unique window into ancient Egypt at a crucial time in its history. Crucial time in its history. Crucial time. Time in its history.
Rarely get the opportunity to study a site that extended for such a long period of time.
Heraklion existed for over 1,000 years. It was occupied from the late Pharaonic period, the end of the great... From the late Pharaonic period. It was occupied from the late Pharaonic period. Pharaonic period, the end of the great pharaohs, through to the arrival of Alexander, through to the arrival of Alexander, the Hellenistic period.
And I'm interested to know what the role of this port city was and the role it played in the lives of the people of Egypt. Frank and his team are painstakingly mapping and surveying the whole site. Heraklion was built on islands and fractured with waterways and harbours. How big do you think it was overall?
Overall, we have a city of 1.8 kilometers by 1.2 kilometers.
Oh,
it's a huge city.
So Heraklion must have been a significant city. But what made this city so important? A clue may lie in the number of temples Clue may lie in the number of temples discovered here.
We have evidence.
The number of temples discovered. My lie in the number of temples.
Significant city. But what made this city so important? A clue may lie in the number of temples discovered here.
We have evidence of a huge ancient temple here. We have also a small temple here, which is a temple to Honsu Tot. We have another temple, another sanctuary.
Where is this modern boat situated in this space?
We are just anchored here, sitting on
The temple of Famon. With so many temples, Heraklion was clearly a place of religious importance. And sitting in a narrow waterway, the team have uncovered something unique. I'm going to hold it while you do a check. Damien Robinson from Oxford University is part of the excavation team. And the compass being a critical bit of kit. Visibility not being fantastic. Sacred artifacts have been found throughout this narrow stretch, and alongside something even more precious. Okay, so now we're going to water. Lying on the seabed, still perfectly preserved, is an exquisite vessel. Long and sleek, it is carefully crafted.
It's made of sycamore, a high-quality wood, and surrounded by ritual objects.
We can say that the ship sank somewhere in the late 4th century BC. So this is giving us a nice snapshot of the things that are happening and how the plane is deployed.
The shape of the boat and the quality of the wood suggests that this is a sacred barge. There are images of these ceremonial vessels throughout Egypt, but to find a real boat is incredibly rare.
This is the only ritual barge from this period ever to be uncovered. It's a spectacular find. Ancient writings describe an important Egyptian ceremony celebrating the resurrection of the god Osiris. Now seen for the first time, this could be one of the very barges that led that procession.
And the fact that we found a ship in an archaeological context gives us much more understanding of what the vessel looked like and how it was built. But importantly, it's also the artifacts that are associated with this boat. And all around the vessel, you find individual groups of ritual offerings. And these are things that have been given by individuals, people like you and me, who care about their religion and who are offering up goods to the gods. And for me, that's what's really incredibly fascinating about this ship.
Deposits. 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 Yes, deposits. Deposits. Yes, deposits. Yes, deposits. Deposit. Place. Deposit. Deposit. Place. Yes, deposit. Place. Place. Water. Here we can see. One of my colleagues excavating. It's carefully cutting into the clay. Gently remove the layers. One of my colleagues excavating is carefully cutting into the clay to gently remove the layers of clay to reveal the artifacts beneath. So here we can see the excavation of one of those three. Like one of those small offering tank plates.
This simple bowl reveals one individual's act of worship, made on this very spot over 2,000 years ago.
Offerings was perhaps have been put on the bowl and then slid gently into the water. It's roughly made, carved out of stone. Now this is an example of everyday ritual. I think that the everyday people at Paraguay would have done, but it's really a beautiful piece.
Other finds brought up from the deep show what kinds of offerings these individuals would have made.
Now in this spot there's a lot of bones.
Burn.
Does the spot work, or would you rather it off? Okay, I'm turning it off now, just gently, and no, has it gone? Yeah, I guess it's gone. Blindfolded? The curtain jelly is audio reactive, I believe. Is it? Yeah. Dean, what's the status? And do these jellies contain animal products? No, they do not. Woo! Thank you. Jelly tots at the bar as well. They're vegan. Have you got any drum rolls? Oh.